finishing up and going out into Thailand. So I met a woman in London who was a friend of mine who was there in Cowlight, funnily enough. And her story was very similar to my character, Henry's, although it ended in a more awful way. She was there with her 3 daughters and her husband, and she was split up from her husband and her eldest daughter, and was with her younger 2 daughters, managed to get them to safety, and then spent a great deal of time trying to find her husband and her eldest daughter. She found her daughter in a hospital, which was quite badly injured in her legs, and she found her husband's body in a temple where they were leaving the bodies. So her story was had a worse ending, but she was very important to me because she talked very much about her state of mind as she was looking. And it was just purely accidental that her story was so similar to Henry's. But she talked about distances seeming, she'd been back to Thailand since, and she'd seen that the distances between where she left her children in safety and the hospital where she found her daughter and the temple were much shorter than she'd remembered. And she had no concept of whether things were at night or day, or how many days she looked, or the state of shock was very profound. So she was the first person who was actually there that was very useful to me. And then of course Henry gave himself. But I managed to speak to him on the phone and meet him in Thailand when he visited. But Antonio made a very clever decision to, in the bus station scene where we get on the telephone, all of the immediate people around about me were real survivors of the tsunami, people who were there. And 1 or 2 of them we met, since we've been in Thailand, we met some people that lived there. There was a German guy sitting on my right who told us the story about he woke up and came into his living room, and his elderly parents were in his house, and his house was very close to the beach. And when the water came in, it came in so very quickly, and he was taken out of the window, but his parents weren't. And he lost both his parents. But he told us his story. His story was devastating and accurate. He talked very clearly about the moment he was dragged into another building. I was going round and round in this building and tumbling around in the sort of vortex. And he talked about there being evil in that room, and they felt very clearly that there was something very evil there. And that there came a moment where he had a decision where he could choose to live or die. And in fact, he remembers it very, very clearly, that it was very simple, that he could live or he could die. And he decided to live, and immediately was sucked out of a window of that building to safety, and then ended up on a rooftop. But the way he spoke about his passage was very key to me, because he talked about when he got up into some high ground, he was finally, because he was stuck on a roof with some people for a very long time, and they had to swim over to other buildings, and they eventually got on the land and they went up high. And he said that at one point he got to a place of safety where he took himself over to the side of a building so that he could sit down and cry. And he hadn't had the luxury or the time or the opportunity to do so. And so he took himself over there, sat down, and wept and wept and wept. And then when he finished, he got up and then he carried on. He had to find his wife. His wife was in Phuket City, I think. So they were always there were always people who'd been there around us. We were choosing there, where all the hotels that we were in.